There were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance. Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect. But Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
Report about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this is the first.
I'd like to say a word, if I may, Dana, about Jennifer Griffin, who was attacked by the defense secretary today, an attack she certainly, in my view, did not deserve. Her professionalism, her knowledge, and her experience at the Pentagon is unmatched. And I have had and still have the greatest regard for her. The attack on her was unfair.
Because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood.
Speaking of what's in someone's blood, somebody get a breathalyzer out here.
And you also said, I think BDA is still pending, and it would be way too early for me to comment on what may or may not still be there at the nuclear facility. That was just over 3 days ago. So what has changed? Would you use the term obliterated as well?
Sure, like I said, we don't do BDA. I'll refer that to the intelligence community. And
you're talking with them. I mean, what changed in the past 3 days and make you so,
sure, I think I
think I explained what changed. There was a great deal of irresponsible reporting based on leaks, preliminary information in low confidence. Again, when someone leaks something, they do it with an agenda.
Following up from yesterday's performance of Man Those Hotel Beers Must Be Hitting was Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth holding a press conference today, which was supposed to put a lid on the whole obliteration or not discussion, but instead just turned out to be more yelling. Only on the receiving end of one particular attack was one of his Fox News colleagues.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes. You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, fly a plane for 36 hours?
There were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance. Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect. But Jennifer, you've been about the worst. The one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
Report about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night. And in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this is the first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here. And I appreciate that. So
absolutely.
We're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
After yesterday's onslaught at the NATO summit, Trump and his contingent teased a press conference headed up by Hegseth, which would essentially end the conversation whether the inconclusive intelligence report on the strike was as inconclusive as Trump and Hegseth themselves had admitted to, or more obliteration that they also claimed while shifting the goalposts.
I'm not going to talk about anything from the briefing. And I walk away from that briefing still under the belief that we had not obliterated the program. The president was deliberately misleading the public when he said the program was a winner. It is certain that there is still significant capability and significant equipment that remains.
Doesn't matter what Senator Murphy thinks about me or I think about him. Here's where we're at. The program was obliterated at those three sites, but they still have ambitions I don't know where the 900 pounds of colony-enriched uranium exists, but it wasn't part of the target cell.
The purpose of the press conference that nobody asked for, in which Hegseth was joined by Dan Kane, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was to push back on a report earlier this week from CNN. They reported on a Defense Intelligence Agency initial assessment that Iran's nuclear program was not fully destroyed by the US, but instead only set back mere months, which many outlets also corroborated.
Go to Daniel Dale, who was our fact checker, as you well know. What did you hear in this press conference that rang true or that rang false?
Well, a few things here. The secretary referred to fake news CNN and then immediately proceeded to effectively confirm CNN's reporting. Again, emphasized that this intelligence assessment was preliminary, made with low confidence. That's exactly, again, what CNN reported. He also tried to back up President Trump's assertion that these nuclear facilities were completely and totally obliterated by forcefully reading out quotes from others who did not say the same thing. He read quotes asserting that the nuclear sites had been badly damaged, severely damaged, that the strikes had done enormous damage. None of that is synonymous with complete obliteration. The secretary also asked rhetorically if the media had been reporting about the enormous challenge on pilots of conducting a bombing mission this long. Well, guess what? CNN did. A couple of days ago, our Michael Williams wrote a story talking to pilots who have been involved in somewhat similar missions that began that this mission was, quote, massive undertaking that required B-2 bomber pilots to test the limits of human endurance during a 37-hour mission. So yes, CNN reported this. And then fourth, just in passing, the secretary asserted that this was the most complex military operation in history. I guess that's something I can't definitively fact check, but I'm sure that some military historians would take issue with that, point to things like, say, D-Day, for example.
And while going into some unhinged diatribe about the media and its coverage of the US bombings on Iran, Hegseth chided a former Fox News colleague, Jennifer Griffin. This prompted a response from Fox News senior political analyst Britt Hume, in which he called the attack unfair.
Missiles fired from an Ohio-class submarine 400 miles away landed at Isfahan. It is much too early to say what the bomb damage assessment at Isfahan, with its hardened tunnels some 600 feet deep, really were. Current and former Pentagon officials think the program was likely set back by 1 to 2 years, but no one knows where the highly enriched uranium actually is. 900 pounds of it, enough for 9 nuclear bombs. It could have been moved or could be buried, we're told.
And I'd like to say a word, if I may, Dana, about Jennifer Griffin, who was attacked by the defense secretary today, an attack she certainly, in my view, did not deserve. Her professionalism, her knowledge, and her experience at the Pentagon is unmatched. And I have had and still have the greatest regard for her. The attack on her was unfair.
One thing I was going to mention about that, Bill, Britt, is that the DIA is kind of like on the first level of intel. It gets higher up as you go to the CIA and DNI. And it reminded me of the 2004 exit polls.
But what is so obvious here is that Hegseth is hell-bent on echoing the rhetoric which comes from his fearless cult leader, who is now onto his, 30th Truth Social attack on the matter? Because that's not telling of someone caught telling a few porky pies, am I right?
This was an unbelievable hit by genius pilots and genius people in the military, and they're not being given credit for it because we have scum that's in this group, and not all of you are. You had some great reporters, but you have scum. CNN is scum. MSDNC is scum. The New York Times is scum. They're bad people. They're sick.
And ironically, right, Trump even admitted that the intelligence report was inconclusive himself, before then taking parts of the Israeli assessment he liked better.
Shall we go at one follow-up on Iran? Both you and Secretary Rubio Hegseth mentioned over here. But can you clarify, is the intelligence correct or is the intelligence wrong?
Well, the intelligence was very inconclusive. The intelligence says we don't know. It could have been very severe. That's what the intelligence says. So I guess that's correct. But I think we could take that we don't know. It was very severe. It was obliteration. This question. You should really say how great our soldiers and our warriors are.
I think everyone appreciates our soldiers and our warriors. I do have 2 questions for you, Mr. President. You just cited Israeli intelligence on these attacks. Earlier, you said U.S. intelligence was inconclusive. Are you relying on Israeli intelligence for your assessment of the impact of the strikes?
No, this is also Iran made the statement. And it's also, if you read the document that was given, that he can talk about if you'd like, the document said it could be very severe damage, but they didn't take that. They said it could be limited or it could be very severe. They really didn't know, other than to say it could be limited or it could be very, very severe. And you didn't choose to put that because it was very early after. Since then, we've collected additional intelligence. We've also spoken to people who have seen the site, and the site is obliterated. And we think everything nuclear is down there. They didn't take it out. Okay, question, please go ahead.
The thing is, they are now on to day 4 screaming about this. Report that came from our own intelligence agency. But what we need to pay attention to is the fact that they're using this as a means to discredit media as a whole. So for instance, when networks report on the recent announcement that there will be cuts to Medicaid or the plummeting GDP.
First quarter GDP, however, the final read is negative 0.5%. We were expecting a loss of 0.2% for first quarter GDP. This is the first negative read that we've actually clocked since the first quarter of 2022. That's according to the Commerce Department. But again, that GDP read, this is actually even more of a loss in the range.
Or the growing number of US citizens wrongfully deported during Trump's barbaric ICE raids. They can just dismiss it as well. It's just more fake news, which is why every detail is important and should be scrutinized. Because the thing is, if they can lie about this, they'll lie about anything and everything that they can get away with.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.midastouch.com. All 100% USA union made.